Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. I want you to settle in, get comfortable, maybe uh, really let your imagination wander for a moment. Close your eyes if you like, and transport yourself back. Perhaps it's a vivid childhood memory, maybe the distinct smell of your grandmother's kitchen on a Sunday afternoon, or the undeniable sensation of warm grass between your toes on a long-forgotten summer day. You're there, truly, in that moment. Okay, now open your eyes and come back to this present instant. When you think of the child you once were, of that exact specific moment you just recalled, where are they now? Are they truly gone, like a wisp of smoke fading into the vast empty air, or are they still?
It's a profound question, isn't it? And deeply unsettling in a way. Our everyday intuition, it just screams that the past is over, vanished, forever out of reach. We talk about past selves in these elegiac terms, like as if they're utterly gone. But the startling truth we're going to explore today, drawing from the cutting edge of modern physics and neuroscience, it suggests something far more mind bending. It's the idea that your past self, that specific version of you in that vivid memory, is not actually gone at all. They are still preserved, eternally existing, woven into the very fabric of the universe. And this isn't just poetic musing. It's a concept grounded in some of our most successful scientific theories.
That's right. This isn't just some, philosophical debate for a dusty academic journal. It's a radical shift in how we understand our own existence, and it carries incredibly personal implications for you. Our mission in this deep dive is to unpack this astonishing concept. We'll be drawing from foundational principles of modern physics, especially Einstein's theory of relativity and the block universe model, and combining them with crucial insights from neuroscience regarding consciousness and memory. We'll explore what this means for our most fundamental ideas about time, about our own identity, the perennial question of free will, and even the ultimate mysteries of life and death. We've pored over a truly fascinating array of sources, from groundbreaking scientific papers to deep philosophical discussions, all sort of converging on this surprising and sometimes frankly unsettling truth. Our goal is to make these complex ideas not just accessible, but to spark genuine aha moments, offering you an entirely new lens through which to view your entire existence, a lens that might just change everything. So let's start with our most basic intuitive experience of time. For most of us, it feels utterly straightforward, doesn't it? It's like a universal, independent, ticking clock, always moving relentlessly forward, always. We all perceive the past is gone and the future as this, torrent rushing towards us. We grow older, events unfold in a strict sequence, cause preceding effect. This linear, unidirectional flow of time feels so incredibly real, so undeniable.
And that deeply ingrained linear perception is precisely what our brains are hardwired for, isn't it? It's how we navigate the world, how we plan, how we remember. We structure our entire lives, our language, our expectations around this very assumption. But what's truly fascinating here is how physics tells a much stranger and far more counterintuitive story, one that directly challenges this everyday intuition, suggesting that this perception of time might actually be a profound illusion of our minds rather than an objective reality of the cosmos.
And this is precisely where Albert Einstein revolutionized our understanding. Before him, yeah, we thought of space as this empty, passive stage where events played out, and time as a universal, independent clock, just ticking away uniformly for everyone, everywhere. But Einstein's groundbreaking work, particularly his theories of special and general relativity, forced a radical conclusion. Time and space are not separate. They are inextricably linked, woven together into a single, indivisible, four-dimensional entity that he called space-time. What he realized, among other things, was that the speed of light is constant for all observers, irrespective of their own motion. Which sounds simple, but
It does sound simple, but it has these mind-bending consequences. Because if the speed of light is constant, it means that the concept of simultaneity, of two events happening at the same time for everyone, it just falls apart. What's now for you, if you're stationary, isn't necessarily now for someone else moving at a high speed relative to you. They would observe events in a different sequence, or perceive them as happening at different nows. This profound insight, it effectively disproves the idea of a universal cosmic now that sweeps across all of existence. And without a universal now, time can't simply be a flow that carries us all along uniformly. It has to be something else entirely, something woven into the very structure of reality itself.
and this is exactly what leads us to the core concept we're exploring today. The block universe, also known as eternalism. This model suggests that time, contrary to our intuition, doesn't actually flow at all. Instead, all moments, all events, and indeed all versions of ourselves, from the distant past to the far future, exist simultaneously. They are all equally real, fixed in their respective coordinates within this eternal block of spacetime. It's like our entire life story from beginning to end is already complete, just waiting for us to experience it moment by moment.
To truly grasp this paradigm shift, analogies are absolutely essential. They help, imagine space-time not as a river, but as a colossal four-dimensional map. On an ordinary map, all cities and landmarks exist at once, right? Being in New York doesn't make Los Angeles disappear.
Right, it's still there.
It's still there on the map, occupying its specific coordinates regardless of your physical location. Similarly, in the block universe, your present moment is just one specific location on this map of time. The past hasn't vanished, and the future isn't waiting to be created. They're all laid out already, fixed points on a vast eternal landscape. You simply move through this landscape, experiencing each coordinate sequentially, but the entire landscape is already present.
Or, to use another powerful analogy from our sources, think of your entire life as a completed movie, already recorded on a DVD or a classic film reel. Every single frame of that movie, every moment from your birth to your last breath, is encoded on that disk, existing simultaneously. Our consciousness, much like a projector, plays these frames sequentially, creating the perception of continuous motion and progression, of time flowing. But the entire narrative, the complete arc of your existence, is already fixed and present on that disk of space-time. You aren't watching a movie being made, you're simply experiencing a completed one, moment by moment, where every version of you exists in its own coordinate within this grand four-dimensional structure. It challenges us to see our lives not as unfolding, but as already being a series of interconnected eternal moments.
The profound implication, then, is that past, present, and future moments are not ordered in a way where the past is gone and the future is not yet. They are all equally real, just different locations or coordinates in space-time. This means the 5-year-old you, playing in that summer field, is as real in space-time as the current you, listening to this deep dive right now. And indeed, as the future you, decades from now, they haven't vanished into nothingness. They simply occupy a different coordinate in this cosmic archive. It asks us to redefine our most basic understanding of what it means to be.
And this isn't just a theoretical model like some abstract thought experiment. Modern physics offers concrete experimental evidence that supports this view. Consider the phenomenon of time dilation. We've seen in countless physics experiments with atomic clocks that time doesn't tick at the same rate for everyone. Astronauts in orbit, they age infinitesimally slower than people on Earth due to their speed and the slight difference in gravity they experience. This isn't just a quirky anomaly, it's a fundamental aspect of relativity.
Exactly. The fact that time can literally stretch and bend, slowing down or speeding up depending on an observer's frame of reference, it fundamentally undermines the idea of a universal objective flow of time. If time were an absolute rigid river, it couldn't be altered by motion or gravity. It just couldn't. But because it can be altered, because different observers can genuinely experience time at different rates and, crucially, disagree on the simultaneity of distant events, it points strongly to time being a dimension, like space, rather than a universal progression. This makes the block universe, where all moments coexist in a fixed spatial temporal structure, not just a plausible interpretation, but arguably the most consistent interpretation of Einstein's theories. It suggests that our common linear perception of time is, well, a subjective experience, rather than an objective reality of the universe.
Okay, so if we truly accept the implications of the block universe, that every moment is eternally real, then the consequences for our individual lives are frankly staggering. It means that child you just thought about at the beginning of our deep dive, they aren't merely a ghost in your memory. That version of you at that exact moment is still out there, preserved in space-time. It's not just philosophical, it's a direct, almost literal consequence. So what does this truly mean for your past self? Are they a real, living presence in their own frame of space-time, forever frozen but eternally real?
That's precisely the implication. What's truly astonishing here is that this isn't merely a philosophical concept. It's a direct, logical outcome of how our most successful physical theories describe reality. The universe, in this profound view, functions as an utterly perfect record keeper. It doesn't delete, it only stores. Every single event, every experience, every interaction, every version of you throughout your entire life story is preserved. It's not a fading echo, it's an indelible etching within the cosmic fabric of space-time. Your life is a vast cosmic archive where every page of your story is meticulously preserved, forever accessible within that four-dimensional block.
Let's delve back into those analogies to truly cement this. We talked about your life as a collection of steel frames on a film reel. Each frame contains a different version of you at a different moment in time. While your consciousness is currently illuminating one specific frame, this present moment, all the other frames containing your past selves are still there. They're simply in the dark, or, not currently lit up by your awareness. They haven't vanished into oblivion. They remain an active part of the eternal landscape of the universe. Your past self isn't just a memory. They are, in this view, like an artifact in the museum of the universe, eternally present, a chapter still on the pages even if your current awareness has turned them.
And we can push this idea of literal physical preservation even further with a truly compelling example that the sources provide. Consider this: the very photons of light that reflected off your face years ago, perhaps from that childhood birthday you remembered, are still traveling through space. Right now, they are carrying an image, a literal snapshot of your younger self. In theory, with a powerful enough telescope, someone could, from a distant point in space, actually see you as you once were, as that light from your past continues its journey across the cosmos.
That's truly wild to consider. It breaks through the abstract. This isn't just some abstract concept about theoretical physics or philosophical conjecture. There's literally light out there right now, streaming through the universe, showing a younger you. It makes your past self undeniably, physically still here, written into the very fabric of the universe. It's not just a metaphor. It's a physical reality, a persistent image of you encoded in the universe's memory.
And if we follow this logic, this profound permanence extends not just to the past, but also to the future. If past selves are preserved, existing eternally within spacetime, then it logically follows that your future self must also exist. They are waiting ahead of you, already part of spacetime, occupying their specific future coordinates within the block. The you of tomorrow, or 10 years from now, isn't a mere possibility or potentiality. They are already there, fixed in their place within the overarching structure of your life's timeline. It suggests your entire life story, from beginning to end, is already written into the structure of the universe, and you are simply moving through it, discovering it moment by moment.
Wow. It paints a picture of our lives as a complete, intricate tapestry, rather than a thread we are constantly weaving. Okay, the static block universe concept is truly mind-bending, but it directly clashes with our everyday experience, doesn't it? I mean, we feel time passing. We feel ourselves moving from past to present, living intensely in this now. If physics says everything is fixed, how do neuroscientists explain this profound subjective feeling of a psychological arrow of time? Is it all just a grand illusion our brain creates?
That's an excellent question, and it's where neuroscience offers a fascinating perspective. What we experience as time flowing forward, this psychological arrow, is indeed in large part an intricate construction of our own minds. While physics describes a static, unchanging block universe where all moments are equally real, our subjective reality is dominated by this linear progression. Our brain creates this illusion of progression, of a single, moving now, primarily to help us function and navigate a causal world. The universe, in its objective reality, doesn't seem to care about our feelings on this matter, it just is. It's a distinction between the objective reality of space-time and our brain's constructed, highly adaptive perception of it.
And this is exactly where the flashlight beam analogy, often used in these discussions, truly clarifies things. Imagine your consciousness not as a vehicle traveling along a road, but as a beam of light shining along an already existing fixed timeline. Wherever that beam lands, that's the moment you feel yourself existing in your present.
Yeah.
Your past self and your future self are still there, preserved in space-time, but they're simply not currently illuminated by your awareness. They're in the dark. They haven't vanished. They just aren't the focus of your conscious attention right now. It perfectly explains why we feel like past selves are gone, even though physics tells us they're not. They're simply not lit up by your current focal awareness.
And this brings us directly to the crucial role of memory. Memory isn't just a record, it's the glue that binds your past self to your present self, creating that essential sense of continuity. Without memory, our experience of self would be utterly fragmented. We would constantly feel like a new person, only ever truly experiencing the immediate now, much like someone with severe amnesia. We would effectively blink into existence over and over again without a personal history. Memory allows our brain to string together discrete experiences in a coherent sequence, giving us the powerful, albeit constructed, illusion of a continuous self moving forward through time.
But memory isn't just a passive recording, is it? It's far more active, dynamic, and reconstructive. When we recall a past event, our brain isn't just replaying a perfect video file. No. Instead, it's actively reactivating neural pathways shaped by that earlier self, essentially reaching across time to relive the experience. Memory is encoded physically in your brain, a unique pattern of neuronal connections that forms an echo of earlier consciousness imprinted on neurons. It acts as a kind of internal bridge across time, allowing your brain to connect back to that coordinate where the past self truly exists in space-time, bringing elements of that past self into your present awareness.
That's a critical distinction, and it highlights the complex nature of our inner world. The reconstruction aspect of memory means our brain actively rebuilds these memories each time they're recalled. Pulling information from stored data, yes, but also from present emotions, current understanding, and even imagination. This means memories are rarely perfect, pristine recordings. Instead, they're often colored by the present self, a present-day version of that self shaped by who you are now. This creates a fascinating double layering of the past. The original moment exists eternally in space-time, unchangeable, but our memory of it is a living, evolving, present-day interpretation.
So it's not just accessing stored data. Could it be, as some sources speculate, that memory is almost like tuning into a frequency that is always broadcasting, allowing the brain to connect to a real specific past self existing eternally in space-time? As if your brain is a radio and these countless past selves are always on the air, and memory is the act of dialing into one of their frequencies, allowing a connection to that moment in the block.
It's a compelling thought, isn't it? Albeit speculative. And to further complicate our perception of the now, there's the concept of the specious present. Our perception of the now isn't instantaneous or razor-thin. It feels like it is, but it's not. Instead, our brain actively buffers sensory information for a few seconds, typically around 2 to 3 seconds, to assemble what feels like a single, unified present moment. This means we're always living slightly in the past, constantly leaning on recent past selves to build this illusion of continuity. Think of it like hearing a melody. You don't hear isolated notes. Your brain strings them together into a flowing, continuous pattern. The notes are discrete, but your experience of them is integrated.
All these fascinating pieces, from the brain's reconstructive memory to the specious present, come together to create our conscious experience. Neuroscientists increasingly describe consciousness itself as a narrative, a coherent, ongoing story told by the brain, intricately woven from past experiences, present perceptions, and imagined futures. So your past selves aren't just still here in some abstract cosmic archive. They are the literal raw material for the narrative of who you believe yourself to be in this very moment. This narrative smooths the cracks of constant change and the static nature of the block universe, weaving a continuous story of self that bridges the gap between a fixed reality and our experience of flowing time. It's a lot to wrap our heads around, this idea of past and future selves being equally real and fixed in space-time. But this profoundly strange view of time inevitably forces us to confront an even more fundamental question. What does it mean for our identity? We all feel like a single continuous I throughout our lives, a unified self moving through experience. But does physics and even biology truly support that intuition? Is there really just one you?
That's precisely the profound paradox of identity that emerges from this perspective. Our intuition screams, yes, I am one, I am continuous, but both science and philosophy present significant challenges to that notion. Consider the physical challenges alone. Our bodies are in continuous, relentless flux. Cells die and are replaced, bones remodel. And over the course of a decade, nearly every atom that once formed your body is gone, exchanged for new ones. You are literally a different collection of atoms today than you were 10 years ago.
Right. This is perfectly illustrated by the ship of Theseus paradox. It's a classic thought experiment. If you have a ship, and over time you replace every single plank, every single nail, is it still the same ship? It feels so intuitive that I'm continuous, yet my physical components are always changing. How does that paradox directly challenge our understanding of what makes us, us? It seems to question whether identity is tied to the physical matter, which is constantly changing, or to some enduring pattern or function. In this sense, you are, in essence, like the ship of Theseus. The matter changes, but the pattern, the structure, the form persists enough that you feel like the same person.
And beyond the purely physical, there are also significant psychological challenges to the idea of a unified, singular self. Our brains are constantly rewiring itself through neuroplasticity, that incredible ability of the brain to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. Memories fade, neural connections are pruned, and new ones form based on new experiences and learning. Furthermore, our beliefs, our core perceptions, our loves, fears, and even our fundamental knowledge all shift dramatically over time. The you of 10 years ago was a different arrangement of cells, yes, but also a different arrangement of experiences and beliefs. Would that past self even recognize you as them, given the changes? This raises an important question. If identity is primarily about psychological continuity, what happens when that psychology changes so radically, as with, say, traumatic brain injury or advanced dementia, where the very essence of the self can seem to dissolve or become fragmented?
So how have philosophers grappled with this profound question of identity? John Locke, for instance, a foundational figure in Western philosophy, propose that identity is rooted in memory. You are the same person if you can consciously remember being that person. It sounds sensible enough on the surface, but the critiques are powerful, aren't they? Memory, as we've discussed, is fallible and reconstructive. We forget entire chapters of our lives, or our memories become distorted over time. Does that mean those forgotten or misremembered selves are no longer you? This leads to the unsettling possibility that some versions of you drift beyond the reach of memory, becoming selves you are no longer connected to, even though the block universe insists they still exist in space-time.
Exactly. And then there's the more radical perspective offered by Derek Parfit, a contemporary philosopher who explored these questions in depth. He suggested that identity is not what really matters in the way we typically think. Instead, what truly matters is psychological connectedness, overlapping chains of memory, intention, and personality. Identity, in his view, is a spectrum, not an all or nothing state. You might be strongly connected to yourself from yesterday, but only loosely connected to yourself from 30 years ago. This has a fascinating and profound implication for moral responsibility. If the you of today is only loosely connected psychologically to the you of 10 years ago, should you be held entirely accountable for their actions? It blurs the lines of individual responsibility in a very significant way, suggesting identity might be more fluid than we want to believe. This touches upon debates in philosophy known as compatibilism and incompatibilism, questioning if free will and moral responsibility can coexist with a deterministic universe or a fragmented self.
All of this, when viewed through the lens of the block universe, leads to a powerful new metaphor for understanding ourselves. Identity as a constellation of selves, or a chorus, not a solo voice. If every past self exists eternally in space-time, then identity isn't a single moving point that we track through life, but a collection, a veritable constellation of selves scattered across the timeline, each existing eternally and vividly in its own moment. It implies you are not one unified being, but rather a dynamic bundle of experiences and memories, a vast network of versions of yourself. It's a profoundly highly and expansive view.
And strikingly, neuroscience actually offers robust support for this bundle theory of the self. Research suggests there is no single place in the brain that houses the self, no central command center, no unified I that remains static. Instead, the self is an emergent property, a bundle of experiences and memories distributed across many brain systems. Memory networks, emotional centers, decision-making circuits, sensory processing areas. Our felt sense of continuity, that powerful illusion of being a unified self moving through time, is our consciousness moving frame by frame, stitching them into a cohesive story, a narrative our brain constantly constructs to smooth over the constant change and give us the coherence we crave. It's an elegant solution to the disjunction between a static universe and our dynamic experience.
So if all these regions of us, past, present, and future, are genuinely out there fixed in space-time, it naturally begs the question, can we ever truly connect with our past selves beyond just remembering them? Are there moments where the wall between our now and their then becomes permeable, offering tantalizing cracks that hint at a more active, enduring presence?
That's a fascinating line of inquiry, and the sources suggest the answer might be a profound yes. Your present consciousness is absolutely not created in isolation. It's a deeply layered product, an intricate mosaic of countless past yous. Every decision you've ever made, every habit you formed, every formative experience you've endured, they all echo within the present. Your personality traits, your automatic stress responses, your deepest joys, your ingrained fears. These are all fingerprints left by earlier versions of yourself, indelible imprints on your present state. This is the living presence of past selves working through you, through the very wiring of your brain and body, even without conscious recall.
And when we do actively recall a past event, it's not just replaying a dormant file on a hard drive. Our brain, as we discussed, is reactivating neural pathways that connect directly to that earlier version of yourself, essentially reaching across time to relive the experience. It's an incredibly intimate act. That earlier self can whisper into your consciousness because the memory isn't just data. It's an echo of earlier consciousness imprinted on neurons, a unique neurological pattern that acts as a bridge, allowing an almost direct connection back to that specific coordinate in space-time where that past self exists.
What's even more compelling is the unconscious influence. Even without active recall, your past selves influence you unconsciously. Consider a childhood fear of dogs, perhaps from a forgotten incident. Decades later, you might experience a subtle tension or anxiety around dogs, even if you can't place the origin. That childhood fear has left a permanent mark on the nervous system, shaping your present, sometimes inexplicable emotional and bodily responses. This powerfully demonstrates the enduring, living presence of past selves working through you, embedded in the very architecture of your brain and body. Similarly, positive, happy moments, even if fleeting, can bring warmth and a sense of well being years later because your brain is forever imprinted by that earlier frame of reality, a little pocket of joy stored and accessible.
These are subtle internal connections, but can we get more direct? The sources hint at these glimpses beyond the present, these cracks in the wall that hint at our awareness brushing up against the eternal nature of time. Take déjà vu, for example. We often explain it as a simple memory misfire, a momentary glitch in the brain's processing. But what if, in the context of the block universe, it's something more profound?
Indeed. In the block universe interpretation, deja vu could be less about faulty memory and more about your awareness brushing up against the fact that your life is already laid out. It's almost as if it's a signal leaking in from another version of yourself who has already lived this scene. A brief, fleeting moment where your consciousness aligns with a pre-existing moment in your timeline. It's a momentary collision between timelines, perhaps, a flicker of awareness to the pre-laid out nature of our reality, rather than just a neurological hiccup.
And what about dreams? They're definitely strange when it comes to time. In dreams, the strict linear rules of time often dissolve completely. We can vividly relive past moments, sometimes feeling entirely like our younger selves, without the filter of our present age. We might interact with people long past or find ourselves in places that no longer exist. Could these nocturnal journeys be our mind tuning into the version of you still living in that moment, like switching channels on a cosmic television to one of your past selves?
That's a fascinating speculative leap, and certainly a compelling way to view the nonlinear nature of dreams through this lens. Furthermore, reports from individuals experiencing altered states of consciousness, such as deep meditation or psychedelic experiences, sometimes include a profound loosened sense of time. People describe feeling simultaneously like many versions of themselves, or gaining the ability to observe their life from a higher, nonlinear vantage point, almost seeing their entire timeline at once. While these are subjective experiences, of course, they hint that our everyday perception of the now might not be as rigidly fixed as we typically assume.
This also dramatically reframes powerful emotions like nostalgia and regret, making them feel less like reactions to something lost and more like echoes of active connections to these enduring selves. Nostalgia, for instance, isn't just a longing for something that's gone. It can be understood as a faint awareness of something still alive, a deep resonance with another slice of time that still exists. Your longing from this perspective isn't proof of absence, but remarkably proof of presence. That beloved moment you yearn for still is.
And regret shifts in meaning, too. If past mistakes are eternally preserved in their specific space-time coordinates, then regret changes from a futile attempt to erase what happened to a more profound act of learning to live with the fact that that specific version of you who made that choice still exists. You're not looking back at a shadow of something that vanished. You're looking sideways, so to speak, at a still present dimension of yourself, a companion still on the path to whom you can extend compassion, understanding, and even forgiveness. These deep, persistent emotions, if we connect this to the broader implications, may truly be echoes of active connections between our present self and earlier selves, a subtle thread of your consciousness still tied to it, providing a profound, almost mystical form of self-interconnectedness.
The sources even delve into some truly esoteric and highly speculative physics concepts that push these boundaries even further. Take retrocausality, for example. Now, this is controversial, I know, but some theoretical physicists explore the idea that time may not be a one-way street. What exactly is retrocausality, and how could it even be possible that our present self might subtly interact with our past self?
Retrocausality is one of those ideas that profoundly challenges our fundamental intuition about cause and effect. It's a highly debated concept, certainly. But some physicists explore the possibility that effects can precede causes, or that future events might subtly influence past ones. Imagine for a moment that information, or even quantum states, could propagate backward in time. This isn't about changing the past in the way we understand it in a linear sense like in sci-fi movies, but rather suggesting a universe where time isn't a strict one-way street, potentially allowing for a deeper, more intertwined connection between all points in the block. It's about a universe where causation might be more complex, perhaps operating bidirectionally in subtle ways that we don't yet fully comprehend, especially at the quantum level.
And then there's quantum branching. Quantum mechanics famously suggests that reality exists in probabilities until observed, implying a multitude of possibilities. How does this open the door to speculation about multiple versions of our past and future selves?
Quantum branching is another incredibly speculative concept, often associated with the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. It suggests that with every quantum measurement, or indeed every significant choice, the universe might branch into multiple parallel realities, each representing a different outcome. If this were true, then the block universe wouldn't be a single rigid block, but a vast, constantly branching tree of possibilities. This would imply that your past selves are not singular, but multiple. The you who made a different choice 5 years ago may still be out there in a different branch of the cosmos, continuing their own existence in that alternative timeline. It presents a multiverse of selves, where every possible version of you exists, fixed in its own unique branching timeline. It's certainly a dizzying thought, but one that emerges from some interpretations of our most successful physical theories.
This is where it gets really interesting, and for many, potentially quite unsettling. If the block universe is true and our entire life story, every moment, every choice, every outcome is already written into the structure of the universe, then are our choices truly free? Are we just actors following lines in a script we can't rewrite, mere puppets dancing to a predetermined tune? It's a profound challenge to our most basic, cherished sense of agency.
This is indeed the core conflict with determinism, and it raises an important question. If the future is fixed, if every decision is already there in the block, what is the point of striving, of choosing, of imagining, of exercising what we perceive as our own will? Determinism, in its most straightforward interpretation, suggests that all events, including human actions and choices, are ultimately determined by prior causes external to our conscious will. If the future is already laid out, then your actions aren't genuine choices, but simply the enacting of a pre-written script. This clashes so powerfully with our subjective experience of making decisions.
But the sources offer a fascinating reinterpretation, a way to find agency within the block, rather than assuming it's negated. It argues that the block universe doesn't necessarily eliminate agency, but rather reframes it. Your choices are still undeniably real, but they are part of the block itself. The you who chooses, the you who deliberates and makes a decision, already exists in space-time, and their choice is an integral, inseparable part of the universe's grand structure. You are not an outside force influencing the block, you are an event within the block.
The analogy of a novel is incredibly helpful here to grasp this nuance. When you read a novel, the entire story, from the first word to the last, including the ending, is already written, already complete on the page.
Right.
But as a reader experiencing Chapter 5, you still feel suspense, surprise, and the vivid feeling of unfolding possibilities. From your perspective within the story, the characters are actively making choices, shaping their destiny, even if, from an outside perspective, that of the author or a reader who's finished the book, the entire narrative is already complete. Your future within the block includes your decisions. You are not outside the block, attempting to alter it. You are profoundly inside it, one of the fundamental events that make it what it is. Your choices aren't undone, they are simply fixed elements of the total reality.
And some physicists, as we briefly mentioned with quantum branching, introduce quantum mechanics to offer a slightly more flexible block universe. They suggest the block might not be entirely rigid, a single unchanging path, but could contain these branching structures of possible futures.
Right. In this view, quantum mechanics, with its inherent probabilities and the idea that reality exists in a superposition until observed, could imply a dynamic block where your choices genuinely determine which path becomes actualized. This would allow for a more intuitive form of free will within a multiverse of possibilities. Your future selves are not singular, but multiple. Every possible version of you, making different choices at different junctures, could exist in a branching tree of timelines. Your consciousness, then, might be navigating through this network, selecting or actualizing one particular branch as your lived experience. While still highly theoretical, it offers a compelling way to reconcile free will with an eternalist framework.
Regardless of how rigid or flexible the block is, this perspective imbues every choice we make with a new, profound, almost cosmic weight. If every moment, every word you say, every action you take, every kindness or cruelty you extend is not simply something that passes away, but is eternally fixed, then the present is not just a fleeting second. It's an indelible, permanent addition to the gallery of selves that will always exist. The way you live now is not only temporary in your experience, but it is, in a larger sense, permanent.
Exactly. This perspective makes each choice heavier but also more meaningful, and it serves as a powerful call to live more intentionally. Knowing that your decisions contribute to the eternal record of who you are, shaping not just what comes next, but also retroactively changing the significance of everything that came before. It's a powerful incentive to consider the lasting impact of your actions, to approach each moment with a heightened sense of presence and responsibility, because you are not just building a fleeting present, you are contributing to an eternal self.
This whole idea of an eternal, fixed self existing within a block universe. Wow, it is a lot to take in. It's both incredibly comforting and, let's be honest, profoundly unsettling. How do we as human beings, tethered to our linear perception of time, reconcile these powerful, often contradictory feelings? It really brings up a duality of emotions, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The goal, as we attempt to integrate these scientific and philosophical truths, isn't to deny these deep human feelings of comfort or unease, but rather to understand and integrate them into a richer, more nuanced worldview. Living with this truth brings forth a wide spectrum of profound emotional and philosophical implications, a deep sense of both solace and apprehension, often simultaneously.
Let's lean into the comforting aspects first. Imagine this: the happiest moments of your life, those peak experiences of pure joy and connection. They are not just cherished memories that fade with time. If the block universe holds, they are still vibrantly real, eternally existing somewhere in space-time. That childhood birthday, filled with absolute wonder, the exhilarating rush of first love, the quiet contentment of a perfect sunset witnessed with a loved one. They're not erased. They're forever part of the universe's structure. Those moments of love, connection, and joy will always exist, real and vivid in their own perfect, unchanging coordinate. Think of the profound solace that could offer, say, to someone grappling with the loss of a loved one. Their shared laughter, their loving glances aren't simply gone with time. They continue to exist, just as real as your present moment, a permanent part of the universe's grand tapestry.
This extends to a unique and deeply philosophical form of immortality. The sources suggest that you are already eternal and, in a fundamental sense, cannot be undone. Death, from the block universe perspective, is simply another moment in time, no more or less real than birth or any other event in your life's timeline. It does not erase earlier selves. Those versions of you continue to exist, fixed forever. Death is not the end of you, the vast interconnected constellation of selves that comprises your entire existence, but merely one chapter among many, woven permanently into time. The larger you, the constellation of selves, cannot be erased because every piece of you exists forever. It's a permanence that transcends our fleeting, linear experience.
And this perspective offers a fascinating and powerful angle on redemption and changing the meaning of the past. If your past selves are eternally fixed, you can't go back and literally change their actions. But by growing, evolving, and making different choices in the present, you can retroactively change the meaning of the past. Your current strength, your resilience, your wisdom today can offer redemption or comfort to a past self who struggled, who made mistakes, who felt lost. You become their proof of survival, their testament that it was all part of a larger, ultimately successful journey. You change the narrative of their fixed moment, not the moment itself.
This also has a profound potential to soften the sting of loss and deepen our connections. If your past self still exists, then so do the past selves of everyone you've ever known and loved. Shared moments with loved ones, even those who have passed away, remain in time eternal. Nothing that happened is ever erased. Somewhere in the cosmic archive, you and a loved one are still laughing, still connected, their smile still bright. It allows for a reframing of grief, not as a complete severance, but as a shift in connection to an enduring reality.
It also fosters a profound empathy and self-compassion for all the versions of ourselves. Instead of harshly judging past selves for their perceived mistakes, their anxieties, or their ignorance, you can come to treat them not as mistakes, but as companions on a shared path. Self-forgiveness, in this light, becomes an act of care for someone who is still alive within the timeline, a younger traveler whose footsteps, however faltering, laid the very road you now walk. It's an embrace of your entire complex lineage of selves.
And finally, this perspective can be incredibly liberating, highlighting the vastness and completeness of yourself, realizing you are not a single being moving through time, but a collection of selves scattered across space-time. An entire constellation can be profoundly liberating. You are larger than you think, the entire arc of your life, past, present, and future existing together. In this grand cosmic tapestry, you cannot be lost because you exist in every direction, in every moment, in every version of yourself. You are a truly monumental being.
But let's be honest. For every profound comfort, there's often an equally unsettling implication. If the universe truly is a perfect record keeper, then it's not just the joyful moments that are preserved. Every painful moment, Every mistake, every heartbreak also still exists. You can't undo them, you can't erase them, they are eternal in their own way. This raises an uncomfortable question. If a younger self is still enduring suffering in their fixed slice of space-time, are they trapped forever in suffering, eternally reliving that pain?
That's a profound and very human concern embedded in this. The permanence of past suffering is indeed unsettling. Furthermore, the challenge to free will and the feeling of predetermination can be deeply disquieting. If the future already exists, already fixed in the block, then how can you genuinely change it? This can lead to a feeling of being suffocating, a profound questioning of what is the point of striving, of choosing, of imagining if your future is fixed. You can feel like you're merely an actor following lines you can't rewrite, and this can certainly diminish our sense of purpose and agency.
And just as past selves exist, the thought that your future self must also exist, waiting ahead of you, already part of spacetime, can feel eerie. It challenges our deep-seated human desire for an open, uncertain future, for spontaneity and the thrill of the unknown. The you of tomorrow isn't a mere possibility that you actively create. They're already there, fixed in their place, waiting to be experienced.
Then there's the fragility and fragmentation of identity. Our intuitive sense of a continuous I that endures unchanged through life is, as we've discussed, largely an illusion. There is no single you at all in the traditional sense. Instead, there are countless versions of you, each equally real, each existing eternally. This profound fragmentation challenges the very foundation of self-unity that we rely on for our sense of self, making us feel perhaps less solid, less singular.
And this fragmentation also brings a murkiness to the concept of responsibility. If the you of today is only loosely connected to the you of 10 years ago, then perhaps you are not fully the same person who made those choices, but rather a later being inheriting the consequences of their life. End quote. It complicates how we assign blame, how we seek amends, and how we even understand personal growth and accountability across a lifetime.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the profound philosophical insight here is that the goal isn't to deny these complex feelings, the comfort, the unease, the liberation, the challenge, but to courageously integrate them. It's about living with this radical truth. This means shifting from futile regret to active self-compassion, viewing past selves as companions still on the path rather than mistakes to be erased. It's a powerful call to intentional living. If every moment is etched permanently into reality, you cannot erase the past, but you can choose what comes next. And that choice ripples backward as well as forward, fundamentally changing the significance and meaning of everything that came before. It transforms life into a continuous dialogue across time, a dynamic exchange with countless versions of yourself spread across your eternal timeline.
So what does this all mean for the big picture, the grandest possible scale? We've talked about our individual selves, our personal timelines, but what are the broader cosmic implications for life, for death, and for our place in the universe if our past self and all ourselves truly exist eternally?
Well, the block universe model fundamentally redefines life itself. If all moments exist simultaneously, then our lives are not fleeting passages from birth to death. They are permanent additions to the universe's structure. Every laugh, every choice, every emotion, every experience is etched into reality forever. This shifts life from a linear journey with a beginning and an end to a vast, eternal archive where every page of your story is preserved, a permanent, unalterable contribution to the cosmos.
And this completely changes our understanding of death. From the block universe perspective, death is simply another moment in time, no more or less real or final than the moment of your birth or the moment you had breakfast this morning. It does not, in this view, erase earlier selves. Those versions of you living in their own specific moments continue to exist, fixed forever. Death is not the end of you, the vast, interconnected constellation of selves that makes up your entire life, but merely one significant chapter among many, woven permanently into the fabric of time. The larger you, the entirety of your being across time, cannot be erased because every piece of you exists forever.
This also opens up a profound speculation regarding distributed consciousness. This view postulates that consciousness itself might not be rigidly bound to a single, fleeting present moment, but could be distributed across all moments of your existence. What you feel right now is just the awareness of this version of you. But other versions of you in their own specific moments are also aware in their own present. It's suggested that you are not a single, isolated spark of awareness, but a chorus of awarenesses, each one singing from its own unique place in time. All of them feel alive because they are alive in their respective chapters of your eternal story. It's a breathtaking concept of a multifaceted self.
And if we connect this to the biggest picture possible, this perspective blurs the lines between personal identity and the cosmos itself. It implies that perhaps identity is not an individual, isolated spark separate from everything else, but part of a much larger eternal fire, a universal consciousness. What you call you may just be one localized node in a larger field of awareness that encompasses everything, a single point of perception within an infinite, interconnected whole.
This implies an ultimate and profound connection. You are not merely living through time. You are, in a deeper sense, a fragment of time itself, conscious of itself for a moment. Your awareness may be the universe peering through one window just as surely as it peers through billions of others across all of space-time. You are time taking the shape of a human life, and all your versions from beginning to end are just different expressions, different coordinates of that same eternal truth. You are inextricably linked to the grand cosmic tapestry. #outro.
So let's bring it all back to where we began and reflect on the extraordinary journey we've taken today. We ventured through some truly mind-bending concepts. We explored how the block universe, stemming from Einstein's theory of relativity, utterly redefines time not as a fleeting flow, but as a fixed four-dimensional landscape where all moments past, present, and future are equally real and eternally present.
We then dove into the astonishing implication that all yourselves, every version of you, from your earliest memories to your future self decades from now, exist eternally, preserved in the very fabric of space-time. We unpacked how your consciousness acts like a flashlight beam, creating the powerful illusion of flow and a unified self, while your brain actively constructs the intricate narrative of who you are from this vast, enduring archive of yous.
And we discovered that your identity isn't a single moving point, but a dynamic constellation of selves, each influencing your present, each as real and enduring as the one you are now. This perspective makes every choice you make profoundly meaningful, etching it permanently into the universe's immutable record. It offers a unique comfort in knowing that your most joyful moments are eternal, and that even death is redefined as merely another fixed chapter rather than an erasure. Yet, it also presents the unsettling truth that every mistake and painful moment is similarly preserved.
Ultimately, the goal isn't to simply believe or disbelieve these ideas, but to grapple with their profound implications. It's about integrating this new understanding into how you perceive yourself and your existence. It invites you to a new dialogue with yourself across time.
So what does this all mean for you right now, in this moment? It means everything you are is still here. Everything you were is still alive in its own eternal coordinate, and everything you will be is already unfolding, fixed in its place within space-time. You can release the fear of being truly lost or utterly gone, because in this grand cosmic design, you are an indelible, permanent part of the universe.
If every version of you is permanent and unbroken, woven into the vast, timeless tapestry of the universe, then perhaps the greatest challenge isn't to become someone new, but to fully embrace the infinite, timeless being you already are. What will you do? How will you choose to live? Knowing that every moment you experience, every action you take, every kindness you offer, or lesson you learn adds to this eternal, unchangeable record of you. Think about that, the eternal legacy you're crafting right now in your very own cosmic archive.